quantitative easing, what the Federal Reserve does, it's a mistake. It's not working. It has kept the stock market afloat. I mean, you pump enough money into this system, and you can get equities rise. The stock market is an historic high. So is gold. I think the people who own gold, I know a little bit more than the people who own stocks right now. I'm not saying sell everything you have. I'm certainly saying don't buy. Because I think we have pumped money into the system. The money supply looks like this on a graph, and that's never a good sign. And we also, of course, are selling our debt to foreigners. And there's where the Chinese come in. You know, I have to tell you, last year we had a delegation from the People's Republic of China come to visit the Wall Street Journal. Very high-level delegation. And they came with charts and PowerPoint and everything. And we thought they were going to give us a presentation on China. Oh, no, they gave us a presentation on us, as in U.S. And they basically, their people from the Ministry of Finance made a very compelling case. We were fiscally profligate. We were generationally short-sighted. We were eating our seed corn, and we were going off a cliff in terms of public policy. And I have to tell you, as an American, it is one of the most deeply humiliating experiences of my life to be lectured by a bunch of communists and realize that they are right. That is a situation I never want to hear again, which is why you're important, which is why you're fighting back is important. Because the last thing I want, you know, sometimes when distressed companies call in the International Monetary Fund, to bail them out and to steer their policies in the right direction. Of course, the IMF doesn't do that. Remember, I said the IMF is always wrong. But that's in theory what they're supposed to do. The last thing I want is to let them do another lecture from the Communist Chinese. I just don't want to go there.
I think you need to make it clear about don't buy. I'm sure you meant don't buy equities, not don't buy gold.
Well, I think gold may even be nearing its top too. At 1,500, even precious minerals have a. I'm not here to give investment advice, by the way. If I were as rich as my advice should make me, I wouldn't be speaking to you here. I'd be doing something else. Truth in advertising, don't take this as investment advice. However, I do think the stock market is probably not going to go up a whole lot more in the next 6 months. And it may be a mistake to join the top of a precious metals market rather than the bottom of the precious metals market. I'm not saying it's a mistake to buy gold. I'm not advocating it.
You've heard it straight from the Wall Street Journal?
No. I am almost as suspicious of people in the media as you are. I am the media. I know how the sausage is made. I wouldn't listen to half of what we write. Except I need a pearl page, of course.
My question is this. I think it was Ireland that refuted its debt to the global bankers. Is that right?
No, they're talking about it. But they basically, they cut a deal with the European Union, and they're very upset about it because it's basically very draconian conditions. So they're talking about doing it. They haven't done it.
I didn't know whether that was even an option at some point in time. If it got
Default is always an option. It's just a not very pretty sight. I don't recommend it, but yes. Go ahead.
John, I really like your work and things you talk about TV.
By the way, how many? Just to stop you for a second. How many people here read or subscribe to the Wall Street Journal? How many people listen or watch Fox News? I think we've covered the entire room. So the least I can do is come and thank you for helping pay my salary.
Okay. Bernanke announced the end of QE2.
Yes, so we'll have QE3. I know how these bureaucrats think.
But my question is, what is, in your opinion, the future of Obamacare? And why did the Supreme Court refuse to hear it?
The Supreme Court decision is meaningless. Meaningless. And I'll tell you why. It is extraordinary for a case to go from district court to Supreme Court. It just doesn't happen, barring an emergency. in glacial judicial terms, it's not an emergency. The normal process is you go through the Court of Appeals. Remember, there's a district federal court, there's a Court of Appeals. I think yours is in Kansas City, the 10th Circuit. And then there's the Supreme Court. It is normal for this to go through the circuit courts. The 4th Circuit out of Virginia and the 11th Circuit out of Florida. I think once those circuits rule on it, there will be an expedited appeal to the Supreme Court for a quick decision. I think that decision will reach the Supreme Court probably next spring, and you'll probably get a decision in the last week of June 2012. Now, there's a chance that I'm wrong and that it's delayed till 2013, but I don't think so, because on January 1st, 2013, most of Obamacare kicks in. We've had very little implementation so far. Most of Obamacare, the taxes, the exchanges, the regulations won't begin until 2013. So I think it's in the Supreme Court's interest to resolve and clarify this for the states before January 1st, 2013. Look, I don't think you can predict a Supreme Court decision, but I can give you a hint. It will be 5-4, and you won't be displeased. I'll just leave it at that. I think everything that you have done in Obamacare makes a difference with the Supreme Court. And I'll tell you why. No, I do not believe with Mr. Dooley, who's a humorist from 100 years ago, that the Supreme Court followed the election returns. I don't believe the Supreme Court follows the election returns. I do believe they're influenced by the zeitgeist, the cultural climate, the political climate they're in. And when they see 28 states, it's up to 28 states suing the federal government saying it's unconstitutional. 28 states. When they see the reaction of the polls that you had last November, when they see doctors leaving the system, saying we're out of here, when they see doctors refusing Medicare patients, when they see Medicaid in a state of collapse, and we're about to add 17 million new people to Medicaid. By the way, here's the biggest hoax of Obamacare. A liberal should be appalled at Obamacare, and I'll tell you why. Liberals hate false advertising, except their own. But they claim, these companies always try to deceive people. That's why we have a Federal Trade Commission. People plan them off. When Obama said we're going to extend health care coverage to 28 million Americans, he didn't tell them that over half of them are going to be dumped into Medicaid. Medicaid is substandard medicine. I wouldn't take my dog to Medicaid. 56% of doctors won't see Medicaid patients because the reimbursement rates are so low you can't literally keep your doors open seeing Medicaid patients. It is a hoax. It is a cruel hoax to tell people we're going to give you health care and dump them into a system that is not only substandard, but it's solvent. So that's the worst part of it. Did I cover what your question on Obamacare was?
Very much.
Would you comment on the NLRB case with Boyd?
Well, it is Atlas Shrugged. I mean, think about this. They say that by making a business decision and locating a plant in a right-to-work state, that's an anti-union action, and they can be stopped from moving their plant and their resources to another state. Federalism is all about competition between states. It's one of the reasons Arkansas has some comparative advantages over other states. I mean, you have been able to use your low tax regime, your right-to-work status, to attract capital and jobs. I mean, Tennessee, next door. I mean, 40% of Tennessee's industrial production is not automobiles. They didn't move to Tennessee because they loved the the Smoky Mountains. They moved to Tennessee because they could get a good labor force at a reasonable price. And by the way, unions are a big part of that. Saturn is in Tennessee. Was in Tennessee, but they had to go union. They went out of business last year. So for the NLRB to do this, I think, look, first of all, as a journalist, this is great times for me. I'm completely counter-cyclical. Yes, I am a patriot, and yes, I'm a proud American. But my career never is better off than when these people are in charge. Because, they are so rich, full of stories. I think these people are absolutely